My name's Beverly Bryant. I'm Director of Digital Technology for NHS England. The NHS in England is a national system, a national health service, but actually it's quite fragmented really. We have 260 providers of care, 8,500 GPs, 212 what we call clinical commissioning groups, and they're the groups that actually purchase the care from the providers. So it is quite a complex landscape for people wanting to enter into a market and sell products within the NHS. One of the biggest pressures that we face of the NHS at the moment is, from a technology perspective, we're still needing to do the job that many industries did in the 80s and 90s. So full digitisation of records. At the moment in secondary care there's still medical records on paper going around between wards. And so until we have got our systems in a place where it's fully digitised, many of the commissioners are flying blind. They don't know what's actually going on out there. So we need help from the supplier base, from industry, to help us to make that transformational change. Realise that putting in technology isn't just about plugging it in, it's about changing the workflows, changing the way that the doctors and nurses interact with each other to use technology.
I'm Jag Dhaliwal. I'm a GP, a doctor in the NHS and also a technology advisor. One heads up I'd give anybody wanting to come to the UK is the two major areas are probably similar to other parts of the world, which is tackling unscheduled care. So this is to do with patients who suddenly pitch up at hospital without being referred by their GP. The other area, of course, is long-term conditions. So this, for example, would be looking after our older patients, elderly patients, patients with chronic conditions. How can we try and make that more productive, more efficient and a better patient experience?
Yeah, Tracy Watson, Head of Commercial and Partners at NHS England.
So my first tip would be go out, find somebody that understands that landscape, somebody that understands commissioning and the business planning processes around that, understands what financial thresholds you need to work with, somebody that's quite happy to partner or sponsor or just give you some special advice really. It could be anybody that works in local commissioning, it could be a procurement specialist, it could be an IT informatics director, a number of people really. There's help that we can direct you to in terms of trying to find the right sponsor.
Start to get your networks going early. And this is really easy now. You don't even have to be in the country. You can use social media. So there's a strong LinkedIn presence for a lot of healthcare professionals. So start to leverage those networks. Make sure your business case aligns with the strategy of the organisation you're seeking to work with or to influence. That's obviously a no-brainer. But it's surprising how often people will present their ideas around what they think the problem is, rather than demonstrating how you have some sort of technology that's a solution to our particular challenges. So I'd do that first. You may think, in fact you probably do, have a very, very good solution around how you might be able to solve our issues. But one thing I'd advise is don't go in with the fully baked product. So here in the UK, and I'm sure in other parts of the world, in the States, you can buy half-baked ciabatta. It's bread that's half-cooked. You take it home, you bake it yourself. Think about your business plan in those terms as well. So try and talk about where it's a potential solution, but how you really want to work with the organisation to try and make sure that it completely fits. So it's baked here in the UK, but with some support from you in the US.
Many technology providers think that if they sell their software to the medical community, then it's job done. Or if they sell it to the IT community, equally job done. It's really important to sell to both communities. We need it to work on our networks, interoperate with our existing systems. But if the medical community, the doctors and nurses, really don't see how it's adding value to their everyday lives, they just won't use it. So we have a new concept of a Chief Clinical Information Officer. These people are doctors and nurses that really understand the value of technology. And if you can find one of those in an organisation, then they really are the embodiment of how to really make this work in the NHS.
I think piloting is a great way of demonstrating your value, and also you'll build up some powerful case studies that you're then able to share with other parts of the NHS. Look at some of our nationally prestigious awards. For example, the British Medical Journal Awards, the HSJ Awards, various others. Look at some of the organisations that have won, and also look at some of the organisations that didn't quite win, because those are the organisations that are probably early adopters, hungry to try and do something new.
I would always say, make sure you get paid for your pilots, avoid any unpaid pilots, try and come up with an agreement where you're going to get paid by result. More importantly, think about the commercialism of your product. That many, smaller vendors come up with some weird and wonderful ideas, but they tend not to make any money because they've not thought about where the demand is and how they're going to sell the product.
It's quite a well-networked economy we have in health services in the UK here. People will tend to hear about it. You'll get the reach that you want, far better than any sort of external marketing. Word of mouth is so powerful.
Your procurement route or procedure will be dependent on the amount of money that's been spent on goods and services and what you're spending your money on. So every organisation or department has a different limit, a different threshold. So if it's over a said amount, then the procurement will have to be published via an OJEU, which is the official journal for the European Union. If it's under a certain amount, then dependent on the SFI, the Standing Financial Instructions, then the organisation will have an approach that has to be followed both in procurement terms but around governing that particular spend. Purchasers have an array of different routes that they can go down. By far the more popular is purchasers using a framework. That's because generally it's quicker and it's easier, so it cuts out a lot of time and headache, if you like, for that purchasing organisation. So there are a number of frameworks, especially in the digital and technology space. To find out more, I'd refer people on to the Crown Commercial Services website, and they can understand then what type of frameworks are currently being procured.
If you want to do business with the NHS, it's important to know that people buy based on relationships. If you have a good product, do some good delivery and implement some value to one of the NHS providers, then word gets out. It's quite a small world and people talk to each other. So it feels difficult to penetrate because you've got 260 providers to sell to, 212 CCGs. But we have companies in England who've really succeeded because they've added value in one small area, and that has then allowed them to spread across the rest of England. It does take time, things move quite slowly, but bear with it. As I say, build the relationships in the first place and make sure that your software can add value, and you will prevail.